Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is me, Paul, your local combat veteran, MMA fighter turned YouTuber. Today, we are going to be checking out a classic, iconic mission from Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 called Rangers Lead the Way. Let's get into it.
The more things change, the more they stay the same. Boundaries shift, new players step in, but power always finds a place to rest its head. We fought and bled alongside the Russians. We should have known they'd hate us for it. History is written by the victor, and here I am thinking we'd won. But you bring down one enemy and they find someone even worse to replace him. Locations change, the rationale, the objective. Yesterday's enemies are today's recruits.
This is just a bunch of truisms. Literally, they're just stacking truisms on top of each other.
Train them to fight alongside you, and pray they don't eventually decide to hate you for it too.
Yeah, I love how sometimes this passes as this is like the YouTube motivation montage version of wisdom. In lieu of actually being smart, you just say things that are so generic. You're like, wow, that's really true and profound. Like, the sun shines every day. You're like, yeah, it does. All right, shout out to them for kicking it off with a private in Ranger Regiment.
Same shit, different day. You know what I'm looking for, Sergeant Foley. Keep your eyes open.
Got a new batch hitting the pit today, sir. I'll send you the best I find.
All right, just want to point out that identified, it looked like it was in a maybe generic Middle Eastern country, maybe Afghanistan specifically. But I can tell you, when I was deployed, this was 2010, I never heard of an installation being referred to as a fire base. We would do forward operating bases, FOBs, or sometimes smaller sub-company level bases would be referred to as COPs, combat outposts, but never heard of a fire base.
Welcome to Pull the Trigger 101. Private Allen here is going to do a quick weapons demonstration to show you locals how it's done.
Ah, I like this. This is nice, right? So already, I appreciate they got that terp looking just right. Sorry, terp is the shortened version of interpreter, usually a local national with English proficiency who will work with a platoon. And man, yeah, just like the terps we had in Afghanistan, right? They would have some sort of mismatched uniform. Sometimes it'd be ACUs, sometimes it would be desert camo. It'd be whatever they could get that they thought looked cool. And of course, no weapons, but a big old bottle of water and the shamaga or scarf. Though inside the wire, there's not really any reason to have the helmets, but I guess if you're doing range operations, I guess that makes sense. Maybe.
No offense, but I see a lot of you guys firing from the hip and spraying bullets all over the range. You don't end up hitting the damn thing and it makes you look like an ass. Private Allen, show them what I'm talking about. Grab that weapon off the table and fire at the targets behind you.
Okay, as a safety move, right, those guys are armed with weapons, obviously, and they're behind you at the range. That's a really bad look. Inside a FOB, no less. Outside the FOB, yeah, you're on a combat patrol, right, everybody's got a weapon, no big deal. But yeah, in the FOB, I would be extra cautious about safety, especially with local nationals, because A, there's a language barrier, B, their training is so much more limited than U.S. forces. As a U.S. force, we spent 3 weeks learning how to engage targets with our M4. 2 of those weeks, you never fired live rounds. That's how it drilled into soldiers, every soldier, proper rifle marksmanship and rifle safety is. But, when you're talking about Afghan forces, their training runs the gamut. And so it's really important to have a really, really, really controlled environment when you're working side by side in something like a range or doing training, especially with live fire.
Turn around and fire at the targets. You see what I mean? He sprayed bullets all over the damn place. You've got to pick your targets by aiming deliberately down your sights from a stable stance. Private Allen, show our friends here how the Rangers take down a target.
I know. I know it's a game, but I'm going to criticize it anyway. That dude just pointed his weapon at his friendlies and reloaded. Nothing says that we are partners in this, like pointing your weapon at somebody and loading a magazine.
Crouch first, then aim down your sight at the target. That's all there is to it.
Okay, what's interesting is it looks like he has his night sight up. That's the larger circle on the near sight post, right? And I've heard of people using it for close combat. I never did. And certainly the Ranger Regiment in 2010 would have had an optic. But who knows? Maybe to, train the Afghans, they wanted to show that you could shoot accurately with iron sights. But if that's what you want to show, then put up your accurate iron sights. I know, I'm criticizing a video game, but why'd you tune in here for?
You want your targets to go down? You gotta aim down your sights. Aiming down your sights also works for switching quickly between targets. Aim down your sights, then pop in and out to acquire new targets. Show him, Private. If your target is close to where you're aiming, you can snap to it quickly by aiming down your sights.
Okay, got the reload right.
Now that's how you do it. You want to take down your targets quickly and with control.
Yeah, it's interesting. It looks like he is wearing ACUs, Army Combat Uniforms. This was the uniform used by the U.S. Army between 6 and 2015, 16. It's this gray digital pattern that's just hideous and doesn't really work anywhere. But what is interesting is you wear it a couple months in country and it absorbs the local dirt a little bit and actually does start to become camouflage-like. Of course, you don't want camouflage that you've got to survive a long time before it starts working. You want camouflage that helps you survive a long time. Also, he's not wearing the Ranger Regiment patch. Anyway, here's the thing. You can't really sit in judgment of Ranger Regiment. They're allowed to do a lot of things that us regular ground pounders weren't allowed.
Now, if your target is behind light cover, remember that certain weapons can penetrate and hit your target. The private here will demonstrate. Last but not least, you need to know how to toss a frag grenade. Private Allen, pick up some frag grenades from the table. Toss the grenade down the range to take out several targets at once.
I wonder if that's actually Pashto, or Dari or Urdu. Like, I wonder if that's an actual accurate translation, or if they just have the Terp saying generic things. Damn, bro, don't watch it explode. Again, I know, video game, but you would normally get in cover if you threw a grenade, because that shrapnel goes a long way.
Good. Note that frags tend to roll on sloped surfaces, so think twice before tossing one uphill. All right. Thanks for the help, Private Allen. Now get over to the pit. General Shepard wants to see you run the course. All right. Who wants to go first? Show me what you've learned so far.
Okay, I appreciate some of the slice of life details, right? They got the empty water jugs. All that's missing is the pallets and pallets and pallets of individual bottled water. The idea, of course, was that on any given base, you want to avoid soldiers getting really dehydrated by just making water so incredibly available and just, flooding the base with bottled water. Because you got to think, it's already 100 plus degrees in the desert, and every single soldier is at least wearing long pants and long sleeves and a hat, and is more likely wearing an IBA or IOTV, Kevlar, your ACH, your helmet, knee pads, elbow pads, your tactical vest, and lugging around a weapon, potentially a very heavy one. No, this must be pre-2010 because they're all using Humvees. By 2010, U.S. forces were patrolling with what's called MRAPs, mine-resistant ambush-protected vehicles that were far more difficult they were easy to destroy with IEDs, but they were really hard to inflict casualties. They were incredibly well protected, and the U.S. military went away from using Humvees on combat patrols. Yep, those wireframe barriers are called HESCO barriers. You just fill them with dirt, and they become a wall, a turret, like you see, or a fighting position, like you see there. They're sort of like easy to improvise construction devices.
Hey, Private. Welcome back to the pit. Heard General Shepard wants to pull a shooter from our unit for some special op. Anyway, he's up there in observation. Go ahead and grab a pistol. All right, try switching to your rifle.
It's interesting. I don't remember if I ever saw a U.S. soldier guarding a secure compound inside of another compound. That's definitely how it's done when you have secretive units who have a much tighter operational security than typical units. Again, think 2010 or so, Afghanistan. Partnering with the Afghans was supposed to be done at every level, right? You guys were supposed to operate like this. But a subset of U.S. forces were doing missions that were so critical that the Afghans couldn't be a part of it, or at least unvetted Afghans couldn't. And so they would be behind separate compounds where they could do their planning and intelligence analysis without the risk of operations being leaked.
Good, now switch to your sidearm again. You see how fast that was? Remember, switching to your pistol's always faster than reloading. Well, smile for the cameras and don't miss. Shepard's gonna be watching. The best shooter gets to join the prima donna squad, if that's your thing. Okay, head on in. Timer starts as soon as the first target pops.
Yeah, I never, not once did I ever see a shoot house. That's what they call this sort of run-through, shoot targets situation range they got going on. This is how it would be designed, though. It would be totally ensconced in HESCO barriers or something else that's going to catch a round. But it was really common for almost every base to have, at the very least, a check fire area where you could test fire your weapons, make sure your 50 cal is working, etc. And to have even small ones would have a designated range where you could check your zero on weapons and maintain your weapons proficiency and do ranges and that sort of thing. Yeah, if I saw somebody running through a shoot house, not taking cover, and just like blasting people, ugh.
You looked okay out there, but you still need some work. Okay, head upstairs and regroup with your team, where you can go back in and run the course again.
All Hunter units, get to your victors. We're headed out.
I only ever heard them called Vicks, but Victors, I guess. Oh, look at that. See that big tank looking thing on the right? That is a deployable bridging unit. That thing will actually pull up to a water crossing, a river or even just swampy area, and it'll actually fold its bridge out and secure the other side. So it's effectively a drivable bridge. It's pretty cool to see, and they can get them out there in like 45 minutes. Like, it can really, and it can make a huge difference when you have especially a retreating enemy that's willing to blow their bridges behind them to try to slow you down.
Bridge, we gotta move! Everyone get to your vehicles. We're moving out.
But yeah, the military does not have many bridging companies, and they're very specialized. So the odds that they would blow a bridge and have a bridging unit standing by is like incredibly unlikely.
We are the most powerful military force in the history of man. Every fight is our fight. Because what happens over here matters over there. We don't get to sit one out. Learning to use the tools of modern warfare is the difference between the prospering of your people and utter destruction.
Again, these are like truisms that mean almost nothing.
We can't give you freedom, but we can give you the know-how to acquire it. And that,
There it is. Yeah, told you.
my friends, is worth more than a whole army base of steel. Sure, it matters who's got the biggest stick, but it matters a hell of a lot more who's swinging it. This is a time for heroes, a time for legends. History is written by the victors. Let's get to work.
What is the red zone? Maybe it's to like play on the green zone.
Get up, Private Allen! Rangers lead the way! Move!
Okay, if you're a general and you're outside the wire with a revolver, that's pretty crazy. And no IOTV, you will get fired. Your commander, the commander-in-chief, will probably personally fire you, because generals being killed in Afghanistan, even if you think you're courageous, the enemy are going to use that as a propaganda field day. So why would you give them that field day? I know you're thinking, wow, Paul, that vehicle just got hit with an RPG and that dude is still kicking. Believe it or not, I have heard of vehicles getting hit with worse than that and shucking it off. actually had I knew of several NCOs who had served in Iraq whose vehicle got hit with what's called an EFP, an explosively formed projectile, an explosive that is so powerful it takes a copper sheet and shapes it like a shape charge into a spear, a liquefied white hot copper spear, and it shot right through their vehicle from one end to the other. And don't get it wrong, it messed some people up. But if you weren't in the direct path, you actually got some really bad skin burns, but you weren't actually killed. Like, you could get back, they were able to get back in the fight immediately afterward. So similar things can happen to RPGs if they don't detonate, which they're really old and they're Soviet made. So there's actually a non-zero chance that an RPG could hit in a Humvee and just not detonate. Yeah, that's actually not unrealistic, right? It's really hard to discern where fire's coming from. It's hard to pick out enemy targets. Never in my life have I seen two Apaches fly that low. Why? All their weapon systems are just as effective at, a much greater distance where you won't be getting shot with small arms.
Those RPG teams. If that bridge layer gets hit, we're swimming to work. Alan, switch to the MW2.
Warlord, this is Hunter 2-1, requesting air striking grid 252171. Target is a white 12-story apartment building. Over.
Got some rounds of them across the river.
Hunter 2-1, this is Warlord. Solid copy. I have Devil 1-1, flight of 2, F-15s online. Stand by for relay.
Hey, that was a really realistic piece of dialogue. That's very close to how calling in a strike would go. Though, Hunter might be like their JTAC? Maybe he's doing the relay?
2-1, this is Devil 1-1, flight of 2 F-15s, time on station 15 miles, holding at 3 Sierra Northwest, holding area knife, carrying 2 JDAMs and 2 harms, over.
On the bridge, coming back hard. Multiple targets, take them out!
Standing by. Devil 1-1, target is a white 12-story apartment building at grid 252171. I need you to level that building. How copy, over? Solid copy, Hunter 2-1. Rolling it now. Target acquired.
Hunter 2, bridge complete. Cross the mark, move out. We're moving out! Get your ass back in the vehicle. We're Oscar Mike, move it. Move! Mount up, let's go down.
Which building is it, sir?
It's that tall one at 1 o'clock.
Hey, which building?
The one at 1 o'clock. Hey, Dave, which one is it? Is it the one on the left or the right?
The one on the left.
Hey, isn't this danger close for the task force?
Come on, since when does Shepard care about danger close?
I don't think task forces get to call what danger close is, man. Danger close is always going to be within 300 meters, man. Small arms range. The soldiers standing there in the open, taking pictures with their camera. Literally, yeah, this whole thing is like pretty stupid. If there was a firefight there, nobody's cleared that area. You have no idea if there are enemy left. There could be enemy just lying in ambush to hit you when you cross the bridge, and to pin your vehicles onto the bridge, right? Easy. That's a classic ambush site move. So why are you just chilling there in plain sight? Get in a stupid vehicle and then pull out your phone.
Alright, we're Oscar Mike! Oh, look, the building's going down! Big for this one!
Keep dreaming, Spielberg.
Oscar Mike? Maybe they mean like on mission? We always used to say Charlie Mike, like continue mission.
Hunter 2, breaking away.
Hunter 2.
Okay, just going to point this out. I know it's a first-person shooter, but there's already a gunner getting the 12 o'clock. There's no gunner in the second vehicle, which, okay, fine, you do what you can do. So then you, as the third vehicle in this convoy, should be either taking the 9 o'clock or the 3 o'clock, right? And your trail vehicle should be getting the 6.
All Hunter 2 victors, keep an eye out for civvies. We're not clear to engage unless they fire first. Scan the rooftops for hostiles. Stay frosty.
You see anything?
I got nothing, dude.
All right, one of the things that's interesting is, and you guys could probably see this, if you were to tell your gunner scan the rooftops, you're probably like, hey, you can't, right? The gun doesn't point that high. But what we would train our gunners to do is transition to their small arm. So we would sometimes pass through very narrow canyons, and our gunners would actually put the barrel up on their 50s or their 240s, and they would transition to their M4s and would trace as we passed over, say, a bridge, or even as we passed by a very high canyon wall, right? And that, because again, a 223 round is still a dangerous round, right? And you're better off being able to engage right away with the weapon you have than to, have a more powerful weapon, but it doesn't have the field of fire you need.
This place is dead.
Overlord, Hunter 2-1. We're passing Tunnel Harvey. Cross Street Elizabeth.
Roger that, Hunter 2-1. Proceed with caution.
Let's see. I don't know if you would call them tunnels. Definitely, you would. We don't have streets. They're not called streets. You would call them MSRs, ASRs. Sometimes you might do like LOA or phase line. So, for example, truthfully, if this was a real operation, when they crossed that bridge, someone else probably radioed up to their headquarters and was like, be advised, Hunter 2-1 crossing phase line Euphrates right time now, or it actually wouldn't be phase line Euphrates. It'd be like phase line, this is Elizabeth, phase line Victoria time now, click, right? And now as they're moving, they'd say, hey, we're moving towards phase line Elizabeth, or we're going to be crossing MSR Elizabeth in about 2 mics over. Right, and there's a lot of boring radio chatter that's just constant updates, but it sounds boring. But again, you have to think, if there's rotary wing or fixed wing assets overhead, they want to know all the time where are the friendly units so that they can, if they need to engage a target or they see a target or they see a hostile, they know relative to friendly units where they are. Or if they see just like a person with a gun and they say, oh, look, they're crossing MSR Elizabeth, and it's a person with a gun. Oh, wait, no, that's a platoon of friendlies.
All right, stay frosty, you guys. This is the Wild West.
Roger that.
Watch those alleys.
Cover it.
Three-foot mobiles. Balcony, 12 o'clock. Probable militia.
Are they armed?
Negative. They're just watching us.
I bet they're scouting us.
Yeah, but that don't mean we...
I love how they're like blatantly obvious. They're 3 dudes with molly vests standing under a red banner with 2 crossed swords. Like, okay, dude, sure. Yeah, ooh, you got him.
Shoot him.
Can you see him? Can you see him? I don't see Jack.
All Hunter victors. This is Sergeant Foley. Prepare to engage.
You would never announce your name over the radio. You would say this is, Hunter 1-6 probably. If it's their platoon sergeant.
Sniper fire from multiple directions.
We got a ton of contacts front and back.
Yeah, shake off that RPG. I get it, it's a video game, right? You got to have your plot armor.
Artillery in the
All right, I'm here to tell you, man. Evasive driving in a city. I get it. Push out of the ambush site. Yeah, okay, never mind. Yeah, I'll give you a pass. But for my unit, at least, we would never push out of an ambush site, like, too quickly because you didn't want to leave people behind, right? I would, if all my vehicles were operational, even then, you're better off putting down an absolute buttload of fire, just a phenomenal amount of fire, and leaving quickly, but not so quickly that you run yourself into another problem, or you do something stupid like get in a traffic accident or get your vehicle stuck, right? Because you're better off being actually able to leave an ambush site than to do something stupid. There you go. Shout out to Sergeant Foley for identifying this problem. James, who's gotten shot like 6 times already?
Get the hell away from those windows and secure the top floor. Move!
Okay, I'm also going to just point this out, right? And I get it. There's a lot of variables. And they sure didn't tell this dude what his mission was. But if you're going to go into, like, super hostile territory, don't go at 4 p.m. Go when it's dark. You have night vision. They don't. Duh.
Get a flashbang in there.
This dude is sort of terrible at this. Hey, they actually got the sound of the M9 right, though. See, now he identified himself by his call sign.
Squad, on me, let's go.
2-1, we are combat ineffective here. We are taking heavy fire from the school. Can you assist? Over.
Keep it together, 2-3. We're on the way. 2-1 out.
Okay, one of the things that that the games never really get right is just how chaotic combat communications are, right? This is a really dense urban center, and this person was like, we're taking fire from the school. And I'm here to tell you that unless it was a village that you were, like, intimately familiar with, I would be asking a couple of follow-up questions, being like, the school, that's the blue one, right, with the blue roof? And they'd say, no, that blue roof is a bakery. We're in the one with the yellow roof. It's like, oh, with the red trim on the windows, right, with the big sign out front with the picture of the kid on it. They're like, yeah, that one. I'm like, okay, gotcha. Like, you really want to be sure because, again, you've got enemy, you've got friendly. They're all on top of each other. They're all maneuvering around. You want to make sure that you know where the other person is. And that's why you do your best defense is a good map recon and a really good understanding of the plan. And, of course, common language, right? Because the school is fine, But if you know that the school is objective, objective Henry, then it's even better because then there's not anywhere near as much dispute. Objective Henry has this grid location. We looked at it on the map. We know it's the school. The aerial photograph said it had a blue roof, right? It's set.
Oh, watch it! Someone just went classroom on the right.
102-3. 102-1. We're in the school. Heavy resistance.
Copy that, Hunter 2-1.
Some intel shop needs to get just fired wholesale for missing what seems like a battalion-sized enemy formation inside this this town.
Contact, you want to block.
Roger, I see him. Keep moving! We need to take the heat off of Hunter 2-3. Second floor window, on the left.
Okay, I thought I was going crazy. If you hear a grenade, and this isn't like a military thing. This is just a common sense thing. If you hear a grenade, you should get behind some cover.
I'm cutting through history class now.
Roger that. Second floor window, left side.
Hunter 2-1, this is Hunter 2-3. Thanks for the assist. We're leaving over.
Roger that, 2-3.
Wow, asshole. See, this is why you don't clear a building like this. You don't clear it with everybody going in their own room, individuals scattering about. No, you do it in a formation, right? You do it where you can see each other, you cover each other for exactly the reason that he just, I mean, obviously the AI can't kill him, but, he would have otherwise smoked a friendly.
Second floor window, on the left.
See, the AI actually responded properly. Someone threw a grenade, they got to cover.
I think I saw one run into that classroom.
Clear!
You sent your okay, there's one person who ran into the classroom. You sent one person after them. Like this isn't even like special ops tactics. This is like basic fundamental military stuff, right? If there's one enemy and you are 3, you should have 3 people fight the one dude. Like this is really, really common sense.
We're Oscar Mike.
Copy that.
They haven't stopped being Oscar Mike. They've been on mission the entire time. I promise you.
Hunter 2-1 actual to Overlord.
Hunter 2-1 actual, this is Overlord. Send traffic.
The school is secure and hostiles are withdrawing from the area. We're just mopping up now.
Solid copy, Hunter 2-1 actual. Proceed with caution to the rally point. EPWs may still be in the area, over.
Roger that, Overlord. Thanks for the tip. Out. Enemy stragglers! Let's get to that rally point!
Okay, so when someone describes themselves as actual, that is their way of saying that it is the principal and not their radio telephone operator who is on the net. Usually it's not necessary for a sergeant, right? Obviously a sergeant doesn't have an RTO. A platoon leader, I'm going to say a third of the time I would have usually a team lead run the radio, and I would tell them what to call as me. Usually it was a case of like I was a dismount and I was speaking on my individual embedder, and then one of my team leads was back with the vehicles with way more powerful radio equipment and a larger antenna. Maybe they were even in a location that was a little bit more elevated, and I would say to them, hey, Roughneck 2-1, I need you to call X-Ray and just tell them that we just crossed phase line Charlie. And they'd go, okay, Roger. And then you'd wait for them to send the message, and they'd let you know. They'd be like, yeah, 1-6 X-Ray copies all. And you're like, okay, Raj.
We'll proceed with caution to the rally point. EPWs may still be in the area, over.
Roger that, Overlord. Thanks for the tip. Out. Enemy stragglers! Let's get to that rally point! They're also
All right, if they're EPWs, that stands for Enemy Prisoners of War. And you definitely don't shoot EPWs, FYI. Yeah, what this would be is just enemy hostiles, right? The area isn't clear, and mopping up is not the same thing as cleared the area. If they were EPWs, they'd be disarmed, right? They would have been searched. They'd have been identified as enemy, not, say, civilians. Okay, I just want to point out that there are dumpsters here, which implies the existence of trash trucks in Afghanistan. Which, there are trucks that take the trash, no doubt about it, in some places. But there are no municipal waste trucks. Not when I was there. If you got an enemy in your sights, you don't say that you have them in your sights, you just shoot them. We know you have the enemy in your sights because we hear your rounds being fired, right?
Roger, tracking!
Use my helicopter. Gentlemen, good work on taking the town. Private Allen, you'll be taking orders from me from now on. I'll brief you on the chopper. Let's go.
Okay, I'm just going to point this extremely bothersome thing out. They have like 4 people securing the perimeter for an LZ for a bunch of casualties. That's ridiculous. This is all ridiculous. This is completely absurd. I get it. It's a like, let's see. Yeah, I get it. It's a video game, but man, just know that like a convoy of like 6 vehicles to take a huge city block like that is basically a suicide mission, which I'm gathering that this General Shepard is suicidal because, again, he went in with no discernible protective equipment and a pistol and not even a military issue pistol. So if he was a real general, again, he would be getting fired. All right, guys, that is all I had for you today. Thank you for tuning in. Of course, be sure to hit subscribe to check out to get more cool breakdown videos. Check out my merch store. I have coffee mugs, I have t-shirts, I've got all kinds of fun stuff, and check out my second channel dedicated to Warhammer 40,000. And until next time, I will see you guys later.